Alright, we need to get off this egg thing. Hello. Oh, I'm disappeared. Hold on. Hold on. Where did I go? I'm invisible. Hold on. Meow. Hello. I just didn't want to exist anymore. It's fine. Hold on. Hold on. The program froze, so it didn't load properly. Come on. Yeah, man. Ah, there I am. Wah! Let's try that again. Hello! Good morning and afternoon and evening. It's Dee Dee. But once it's not OBS. Other than audio issues, I have had minimal issues with OBS, fortunately. It's always VTube Studio crashing or whatever else. You rain, my dear? No. What are you calling your deer, huh? I'm kidding. Hi, Ava. Hi, Zot. Hi, Art. How's everybody doing? Bow, bow. Bow, bow. How you? You're great? That's good. Oh my gosh. Okay, I have to tell you. My day was okay. But oh my goodness. The morning was crazy. It would have been enough to drive a lesser Dee Dee back to bed. So I have coffee in the morning, right? I use like a little hand grinder to grind up the beans. Because A, I don't need that much. And B, when I first started learning about brewing coffee as a hobby, they said to try and hand grind if you can, or get like the cafe you buy the beans from to do it for you, because a lot of the at-home bean grinders, they basically end up like burning the beans a little in the process because the blade gets too hot. Or something like that. I forget the exact specifics. But either way, so I have a little hand grinder, right? And so I get up, go about my business a bit, boiling some water, feed the cats, load up the beans into the grinder. It's like pick it up, start doing my thing, and I don't know, I had like a terrible Butterfingers moment. Those of y'all who have been here long enough know that when I'm a klutz, it is like a catastrophe level klutz. So I dropped the grinder. I managed to catch it, but I caught it upside down. So beans everywhere. Everywhere. Yeah, it's just like a little lid. It's not like it locks on or anything. So, if you drop it or anything like that, it just like, it just goes everywhere. And I'm like, oh my god, okay. I'm like, you know what? This is fine. Thanks to the Roomba, the floors get cleaned every day. So I'm like, all right. Most of these are clean. I'll just scoop these up, and any that look like they got dirt or hair or whatever, I'll throw those out. These are going through a paper filter anyway. So, like, as long as, like, so nothing goes through that filter except for water, right? Because it's so thin. So I'm like, it should be okay, and it's boiling water anyway. So I'm like, all right. This'll be fine. there was a hole in the filter. So I do my thing. I, like, you know, put the filter in. I, like, pour the beans into the filter. Do the whole thing with the water, yada, yada, yada. Walk away while it drips. And then I come back and I pick up... Because basically you put the filter in, like, this little funnel thing that fits on top of the coffee pot. And that's how you do pour over coffee. So I pick up the like, filter and the little, like, cylinder, and I'm like, oh, why is there coffee grounds on this? Like, was the filter, like, was the thing dirty when I, like, put it there? Did I not clean it? And then I, still not thinking, I pour myself a cup of coffee and I see all this stuff in the cup of coffee. I'm like, what? What happened? And then sure enough, I see that, like, the filter got ripped somehow. Because these conical filters, they basically sew/glue them. So there's a seam. So hole in the seam. The beans and, like, the grinds go out with the coffee. And I'm like, oh no. So I gotta get another filter. And filter my cup of coffee to try and get the most of it out. I'm spilling coffee everywhere in the process, and I'm like, this is just my morning. This is just my morning. Yay! It's like, yay! So yeah, that's how my day started. There was one other incident that happened that made me go like, this is gonna be a bad day. I can't remember what it is though, so it can't have been as traumatizing as the coffee. Might have been I nearly knocked over some skincare stuff when I was washing my face. Can't wait to see that on the cooking stream. I'm not that bad when I'm cooking, but that's precisely why we haven't done a cooking stream yet. Because I have a galley kitchen, so I need to A, get good at making recipes using my, like, hot plate. And figure out the best setup, because I have seen so many cooking streams of people getting distracted by chat and talking and whatever else, that they burn themselves. They end up, like, you know, cutting their headphones with, like, you know, the vegetable scissors or whatever else. So I was like, we need the practice. It's either that or we do it Magic of Television style, where I assemble the ingredients, I vanish off screen, and then I come back with the finished product that we cooked earlier. That could be a fun way to do it. Fire extinguisher on standby. Oh, you think you could buy those nowadays? They actually say, well, I've heard that fire extinguishers can actually be dangerous because a lot of people don't know how to use them properly, but yeah. You still need that skincare stream? I know. I've been making notes slow and steady on it. It's just, like, I don't want to give you guys bad info, and it's like, if I only give you guys info on my skin type, that doesn't help the people who aren't my skin type. Yada, 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 yada. Plus, you gotta find a way to make it entertaining and visually appealing. Yeah. You're gonna bring your fire extinguisher over? Fair. I have burnt food once. Very badly. I have never started a fire, though. And the one and only time I burnt the food really badly was when I was a teenager and super anemic. And I fell asleep while the potatoes were boiling. And I guess technically I fell asleep. Probably more accurate, I passed out. Because the thing that woke me up was the smoke alarm and my dog barking. So the potatoes were husks. But that was like the one and only time I ever burnt something, and like arguably that wasn't my fault because it was a medical condition that made it so I wasn't watching my cooking properly. When I was young, my mom said fire the stove on fire many a time. Oh my god. I don't think Papa Melis has ever burnt food or caused that kind of fire. He has made some very questionable decisions, though. Like, one time, water got in, his, like, one of the cooking thermometers. And he's like, God, how am I gonna get this out? And this is the guy who was a civil engineer. Not like formally a civil engineer, but that was essentially his job, right? Like he was part carpenter, part city planner, all that stuff. He takes the advice of young Dee Dee. I had to have been somewhere between like 10 and like 13. And I was like, why don't you put it in the oven? Like the heat'll evaporate it. Me not realizing, you know, that's just gonna make the glass explode. Like the glass on the front. So he follows my advice like an idiot. And even more idiotic, he does it at the same time he's cooking a pizza in the oven. Needless to say, dinner was ruined. One other time, there was a slow cooker and there had been an incident with the train that made it so I got home too late. By then, all the water had evaporated. And same thing, the glass of the slow cooker shattered. And I'm like, this pasta tastes really good, but I can't eat it. Like, or rather, it smells really good, but I can't eat it. Papa Melis was so mad at me for that. And I was like, you're acting like I did this on purpose or something. It's like, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's like, look, I'm sorry someone jumped onto the train tracks. So the trains were delayed. I had to take a bus for an hour to get to a station where the trains were running still to get home. Because my parents were on vacation at that point, so it was just me, doing, like, one of my early internships when I was at university. I'm like, yeah, like, it's not my fault. What do you want from me? It's like, I got home as quick as I could. Flashback to the bus and school labyrinth story, oh my gosh. The paper shall be turned in. As I get very, very confused and turned around. And then also, yes, the time I ran for the bus. I didn't even stay for the lecture, I think. I was just so exhausted from finishing the paper and running to catch the bus. I was like, no. This was... It makes me sound ancient when I say this was, like, the early days of, like, Turn It In and stuff, but it really was. Because, like, now I feel like, yeah, there's probably some teachers who want you to hand in the papers printed and all that stuff. But I feel like most of them want you to submit it online nowadays. I felt like Turn It In was a pain. It was. But yeah, Turn It In? I think that started my second or third year of university. And even then, not all teachers used it, you know? Wasn't like a universally mandated thing. So like I definitely had to do it once or twice. And it was definitely a pain because yeah, my results were always like either like 0 or a very small percentage. Cause one time like a teacher had us turn in a paper that was essentially a summary of an article. And he said, you don't need to use quotes. So of course turn it in's like, yeah, this is 0%. This is sus. Maybe art made your handwriting better? It's possible. There was one essay where I was last second checking formatting and missed the minute the box closed. Man, I remember the days when there were like hacks going around on Tumblr on how to submit. It was like, oh, yeah, open your not finished paper in WordPad. Delete a line of code. And then, like, you know, when you send it and, like, save it again. And so that way, when you send it to your professor or whatever, because this was before, like, turn it in and checking and stuff. When you would, like, still email this stuff in, that was like, this will buy you a couple days because it's gonna take probably a couple days before the professor or the TA even gets to your paper. And they're gonna try and open it and see an error, and they're gonna be like, hey, what's up with that? And you'd be like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. That's so weird. Here's the paper. Try again. And hopefully by the time they ask you for it, you have completed the paper for real. I never tried it, but I'm like, oh, that's clever. See? Now people just tell ChatGPT to write the paper for them. Back in my day, we had to be creative. We had to figure out how to stall for time because we still had to write it ourselves. I would not be brave enough. Me neither. My anxiety would not let me. But I was so curious. I'm like, would that actually work? What if... Like, you know, like, what if your teacher is tech-savvy enough that they know how to, undo what you did, basically, and somehow they managed to repair the document, and they see it's only, like, you know, half a page. It's like, what happens then? Because sometimes people are a lot more tech-literate than you think. Other times, it's shocking. I was having this conversation with my manager at the apothecary because we had someone leave, like they finished their apprenticeship or whatever, and so we've got their laptop back, and she's like, can you look up the like serial like organization number? Because, you know, there's the serial number, then there's like the internal coding like organization number that some organizations give to like their different IT assets. She's like, can you look this up for me? Like, the sticker on it's rubbed off. I'm like, oh, well, if you log into it, you can find it under like settings as well. It's like, I'll check my list, but like, you know, we only do a check of these once a year in the spring, so there's a chance it's outdated if he never told us, like, you know, that something broke or like whatever. And she's like, oh, I can't log into it because it's logged into him. I'm like, oh, well, if you can hold down the power button, and when it shuts down, that'll force log him out. She's like, IT told me Windows 11 is like it's like your phone now. It's tied to one profile. I'm like, that seems bananas. Like, that can't be right. I'm like, that can't be right. Like, cause then I'm like, then you have to like reformat this like PC every time someone leaves. But sure enough, like I had like someone else's computer there, and like I tried, and like no matter what I did, it was still locked to them. I had to log in via like guest. So I go back to manager. I'm like, okay, you're right. This is stupid, but you're right. We can log in via guest though. But I guess we gotta get IT to wipe the computer? Question. I almost messaged Zon and or Spooky being like, this can't be it, right? This has gotta be a joke. They gotta be pulling my chain here. And then I was like, no, I probably shouldn't message my friends about work stuff like that. IT help desk DD, the stuff I picked up in all of my years. Being the millennial in the office who sorta still has a computer. I could see some benefits of doing it that way, but sounds like a bit of a hassle. I'm sure group policy can enforce that, yeah. Like, I know basic IT stuff, but I was like, I'm like, that sounds insane. At least the guest login worked, because I'm like, then what are you supposed to do? Like, you know, if, like, your computer blue screens, it's just like, well, you can't work for the next 2 to 5 business days until we ship a new computer to you. Rest in peace, because, you know, no one else... It's like, we don't have, like, a spare computer for you that isn't, like, bind into someone else's account. I don't know if it's to try and prevent non-employees from logging in, but even then, you would need to have, like a username on the domain for it to work. I don't know. It just blew my mind. I'm like, really? It's like, we're really doing it that way. Probably discourages sharing or accidental mix-ups. That's all I can think of. Ah, yes. That I could see. Because I have definitely... Every year, I'm like, okay, so it's time to do our yearly asset checks. Can you send me this, like, your numbers on your whatevers? And, like, I need the number off this, this, and this. And they send it to me, and I'm like, yeah, that's not what I have on this list. They're like, oh, yeah. My computer broke, so I just shoved it in a drawer, and I used so-and-so's because, you know, they quit. And I'm like, you're supposed to tell me this stuff. Yeah, you know, having you explain it that way, now it makes sense. But yeah, just in the moment, I'm like, that sounds bananas. That makes sense though, but yeah, it does indeed happen all the time. And that's precisely why I was telling manager, I'm like, I can check my list. I don't know if it'll be accurate because, you know, if someone's computer broke and they didn't say anything, then well... Rest in peace. Once again, I am saved by Zon's IT knowledge. What is it? Not this coming Monday? The Monday after? I'm on vacation because I'm coming back from Mama and Papa and Melis's. So that'll give me some time to finally sit down and install my second SSD just in time for Arknights and Field. Yippee! I've had it sitting there and it's just like, I'm like, today's gonna be the day I deal with it. That it's just like, oh yeah, you've got stream in like An hour and a half, never mind. Or yeah, I come home from work and it's like, you know, Monday's not the day I stream, but I'm like, oh god, I'm exhausted. Never mind. Now's not the time to be monkeying around with this. Monday after this coming one, I will have had vacation. I will be rested. I can clean my desk, open up the PC, clean it all out at the same time, and install this thing. At least you have it now. That's the important thing with these price hikes. Yes, that's exactly it. Fortunately, I had leftover Christmas money, so I'm like, I'm just gonna bite the bullet and get it now. It's like, done. Boop. Forget about it. Don't think about it. Because, yeah, I saw some people getting nervous about some companies deciding they're no longer gonna make XYZ. So people are like, And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a good time, I guess. This is a good time to finally bite the bullet. Because I've been meaning to for a while, but it's like one of those things. You can always find quote-unquote better things to spend money on. Whether that's like, we have bills, this should go to debt, or savings, or yada yada yada, or the cats need to go to the vet. There's always something. Better or worse. But yes, I have it now. I bit the bullet, and for once in my life, I actually took someone up on their offer to be like, hey, it's like, I need to borrow your expertise. And Zahn very nicely walked me through a bunch of stuff, so yippee! Zahn Appreciation Day. General consumers, bye-bye, rip. I mean, I get it, but yeah. Just happy to be able to help, oh, for sure. It's just with my social anxiety, I'm so bad about asking people for help, even when they ask. Like, Iduna volunteered to help me out by making a phone call for me. Because I was like, can you remind me to make this call? And she's like, I will remind you. And if when I remind you, you can't do it because you're busy or you don't have the spoons, I can do it for you. Just say so. And I'm like, okay. And then she's like, don't forget to call so-and-so. I'm like, can you do it for me? She's like, yes, done. You're on my cool person list, so you always have a free pass. Aww. That's nice to hear. You're on my cool person list, too. Just, yeah, I've been getting better about actually asking people for help. Because it's like, yeah, I know social anxiety says no matter how much people say, oh, you can ask. Just ask me. It's like, no, you can't. It's a trap. That darn social anxiety, it gets you every time. Alright. I'm getting the game set up on this side as I'm cackling away. Ugh. I gotta be getting close to finishing this chapter. Knock on wood. Whatever that means with the Ryukishi story, because these just go on forever. Now where? Ah, there I am. Make myself a little bit bigger. And here we go. Boop. There are no seagulls just yet. I have to unmute this stuff in the mixer, so give me 1 sec. Ma 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 ma. And of course, it's giving me issues. That's fine. It's fine. We'll just restart this thing. Okay, that's still fine. Alright, you know what? That's fine. That's fine. UMINEKO doesn't like the mixer. We can do this the other way still. That is fine. As long as we don't get double. Alright, there we go. Do we got seagulls? Are the gulls yapping away? We hear the beautiful seagulls. Excellent, okay. Yeah, for whatever reason, the mixer doesn't like UMINEKO or vice versa, but that's okay. We can still do application audio capture. Alrighty. I did my warm-ups. I've been actually trying to do not just warm-ups in the morning and before stream. I found a routine that's supposed to strengthen your vocal cords. So I've been trying to do that every day. Doesn't always work out, but you know, the intention is there. Suspended games can be resumed from here too. And do... Oh, we're still in chapter 3. My bad. There we go. For some reason I thought we were on chapter 4. Seeing some of the save dates, we've been doing this for like 7 months. It is a long game. And we played it at least once or twice every month, except for, I think, November. Because just bad timing, I always had to cancel the stream. So that looks about right. There we go. Right, it was like a super long scene, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to stop here because I don't know when this is gonna stop. Oh, this is jamming music. Alright, last time on UMINEKO. Beatrice tried to help George, and they brought Shannon back to life. And then both Shannon and George got shot by the golden arrow. And so they did. Everyone is dead now except for Battler, Ava, and Jessica, I think. Oh, and the doctor. Everyone else they did. So we gotta be pretty close to the end. Usually by like when a chapter ends, there's only like one adult left. And we're at that point. So I guess we will find out. George went to the mansion, I'm guessing. She did leave a corpse behind, and I thought I'd be able to torture that old. Okay. No, I didn't see him. When did he come down? When you say, I still enjoy your egg. What was it again? I think it was probably around 4 or 5. At the very least, it was more than an hour ago. got sleepy and probably dozed off after that. Should have drank the coffee. But I think it's probably like Jessica says, about 1 or 2 hours ago. I also remember something from around that time. I was asked if I wanted more coffee. Something hard to believe had happened. Apparently when Aunt Ava had left for a second to wash her hands, Uncle Klaus and Aunt Natsuki had disappeared. There's no way they went hiding somewhere. Oh yeah, Klaus and Natsuki were just chilling on the couch and they also got shot. And then they got, like, dragged out of the building. Somehow, even though you know the doors are locked, somehow their bodies became incorporeal and passed through the door. Of course, the doors and windows had all been rigorously checked and all were locked from the inside. Not one of them was broken. And that wasn't just true for the first floor, the second floor was the same. Again, all the doors and windows had locks built in a way that made it impossible to lock them from the outside. Not with that attitude, anyway. In other words, there was no way that Uncle Klaus and Aunt Natsuki had gone outside, and yet they couldn't be found. Furthermore, they weren't the only ones who had disappeared. So had George Aniki, of all people. George Aniki had left saying he was going to get more coffee, and had gone downstairs more than an hour earlier. We'd assumed that he was having a conversation with Aunt Ava and the rest. But Aunt Ava, who had been in the lobby the whole time, said that no one had come down. Since all the doors and windows were locked from the inside, it was unthinkable that they had gone outside. However, 3 humans had evaporated from this barricaded guest house, which had become a perfect closed room. In a situation like this, we couldn't imagine that this was because they were playing hide and seek and trying to scare us with a prank. It was probably reasonable to assume that they'd been caught up in this crime. When Aunt Ava had learned that her only son was missing, she had gone half insane, running from room to room and yelling his name. And Jessica, who had suddenly lost both of her parents, had chased after her. Cries of George, George, and Mom, Dad had continued to echo through the guest house for some time. I think George had said something about wanting to see Shannon's dead face, which is weird. It would be reasonable to assume that he snuck out of the guest house and went to the mansion. But I did have a clue about Uncle Klaus and Aunt Natsuki. Did they see him leave and then go to the mansion to search for him? Without even telling Aunt Ava? At this rate, it's only a matter of time before we start planning to leave the guest house to go search for them. When that time comes, I'll agree. We'd thought staying holed up in the guest house would be safe. Which is why our big, happy group of 12 people locked themselves up here this morning. And yet, now there's only 4 of us left. That means staying here is no guarantee of safety. Well, everyone was stupid, unfortunately, but yes. However, there's one thing we can't afford to forget. All the doors and windows were locked from the inside. This is a closed room. How did they manage to vanish from this place? It was I, Beatrice! We searched around thoroughly. However, we couldn't find any traces of someone hiding. The 3 of them had almost certainly been taken outside the guest house. I wonder how it was done. You don't think there might be something like a hidden door? A hidden door? The doors and the windows were built in a way that makes them impossible to lock from the outside. Even using a fishing line, it would probably be impossible with the way they're constructed. So it may be reasonable to assume that they left via something other than a door or a window. You're right. That does make logical sense. No one can be sure that no hidden doors exist. Ah, yes! The Devil's Paradox or whatever it was called. Oh, the Devil's Proof, that's it. However, before leaping to that conclusion, I suspect a much simpler possibility. And what would that be? For some time, Battler had been opening windows, opening shutters, and checking outside, repeating this for each window. This window's pretty quiet. I see. Unlike the other windows, because of how the building's shaped, the wind doesn't blow into this one. It appears that way. Feels strange that no wind and rain comes in, even though there is so much of it outside. Dr. Nanjo? When I opened the window just now, did you hear a sound? Huh? No, I did not notice it. I believe it is well oiled. In other words, it's possible to slink through a window in the hallway when no one is looking. Furthermore, the wind doesn't blow in through this window, so the air pressure wouldn't cause the curtains or a door to make a sound. It'd be quiet. Father leaned forward and looked at the ground below. He was searching for some sign that George had jumped down. But at a glance, he didn't see any mark like that on the grass in the middle of the pouring rain. There might also be a window like this on the first floor. It'd be possible to go outside without anyone noticing. However, not only the doors, but the windows too are all locked and the shutters are even down as well, correct? It may be possible to go out through them, but you couldn't lock them afterwards. Sure you can lock them, just like this. Click. Battler closed the window and locked it, as though that was perfectly obvious. Battler-san, you are saying... If someone inside locked it afterwards, this closed room is as easy as pie. But that means... Oh! Nanjo turned pale and shook his head several times, because the thing Battler had said had forced him to face a fact that was frightening even to imagine. That's only if the trick I'm thinking of actually happened, okay? However, with this trick, only a very limited number of people can be suspected. He didn't want to say it in front of Nanjo, but after eliminating Jessica, who had been with him the whole time, only Nanjo and Ava could have done it. I did not do anything of the sort. Yes, I swear it. In this case, it becomes a battle between Aunt Ava and Dr. Nanjo for an alibi. We just have to suspect both of you, and confine the two of you separately. To say it the other way around, the more survivors there are, the more effective this trick might be. But since our numbers have shrunk so much, it isn't effective at all. Rest in peace. Everyone's turning on each other! No, on the contrary, there'd be a chance of having your own neck strangled by using it. It would have been more advantageous to make it look like the culprit was outside. If this disappearance drama had taken place midday today, I'd be able to claim this theory with full confidence. However, at this stage, I'm not confident at all. What's going on here? What in the world does it mean? This closed room. You don't think... What is it, Dr. Nanjo? Even if it's just a thought, please say it. Nanjo looked like he was trying to swallow his words, even though he thought of something. So I urged him on. After Dr. Nanjo refused several times, saying that it was just a foolish idea, he finally said it out loud. Well, Don't you think this might actually be the work of the witch? Ridiculous! There's no way witches exist. The witch is trying to make her case to us, specifically because she's doing things that humans cannot do. She must be trying to make us accept her as a witch. To me, this disappearance from the closed room of the entire guest house feels like that kind of message from the witch. It's something I must not think of. Surely it can't mean anything. Oh, I am frightened. Oh, that was Dr. Nanjo this whole time. Whoops. Sometimes it's hard to tell. As Dr. Nanjo shook with fear, it looked like he was trying to erase the fearsome thoughts that he kept imagining one after another. When we went down the stairs, Aunt Ava and Jessica were enraged and were each persistent in their desire to leave this place and search for their respective families. It was a desire that naturally hits those who can no longer see their family. Aunt Ava told Dr. Nanjo and me to stay here, but I shook my head and started walking. I've been shut up inside for a long time already. I've started wanting to breathe some outside air. Yeah, if we're going, let's go quickly. There's no way I'm keeping myself shut up in a place like this anymore. Let's go and find Mom, Dad, and George Nissan right now. Blood had all risen to Jessica's head. Hope it doesn't set off her asthma. Ah, yeah, she hasn't had an attack this whole chapter. Good for her. If anyone wants to stay, go ahead and stay. We'll be searching outside. What about you, Dr. Nanjo? Will you watch the place by yourself? No, allow me to join you. Rather than holding up alone in a guest house whose security was by no means guaranteed, it would be better to enter a danger zone as a group of 4 people. Aunt Ava had a gun. Moving separately from her was almost like asking to be made into the next victim. I don't think Ava's gun's gonna do shit. But I can appreciate the optimism. In this way, the 4 of us decided to leave the guest house. Even though it should have been safe to barricade ourselves here, we lost 8 people after doing so. It was almost as though blah blah. What kind of sentence is this? It was almost as though I think that is a typo. I don't think there's a way to read that sentence properly. It was almost as though this was a holding cell from which the sacrifices could be killed one after another. We removed the chain, unlocked the front door, and opened it. It was already pitch black, while there was some light outside that dimly lit the pathway. They didn't have enough power to pierce the darkness that some suspicious person might be hiding in. I'm going. If you fall behind, you're on your own, okay? Still holding her gun, Aunt Ava dashed out without an umbrella. Jessica followed after her. After glancing at each other, Dr. Nanjo and I chased after them. Done. 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 What in the world is happening in this mansion on this island? I've been shut up in the guest house with the rest of the cousins since yesterday. So I don't know anything about what's going on outside. Just what is happening that I don't know about. Outside this room, in the mansion, on this island. Everything is happening, everything is proceeding, and everything is ending. without my knowing it. Somewhere in my heart, I've already started giving up. Most likely, not one of us will see tomorrow morning. When the seagulls cry, Indra, nobody will be left alive. Dun, dun, dun. And it is 6 p.m. Time for Din Din. They said that Dad! Mom! Who would do something like this? Oh, I guess they found their bodies. Rest in pieces. Jessica's woeful voice echoed throughout the rose garden. Perhaps it was the intuition of a person who lived on this island. After checking the part of the rose garden where Aunt Rosa and Maria had fallen and seeing nothing, Jessica went to look in the arbor next. Normally, the arbor was probably a wonderful location to enjoy tea peacefully while appreciating the roses on a good, sunny day. Maybe even Uncle Kraus and Aunt Natsuhi had days when they relaxed and enjoyed their tea together here. In that arbor lay their corpses. At least, they hadn't been drenched in the rain like Aunt Rosa and Maria had been. There was no way I could say that out loud to Jessica at the moment. What do you think, Dr. Nanjo? It's a strangulation, I believe. Come, take a look at this. On their necks, there are distinct markings that something thin was used to strangle them. Right. I doubt those things were the primary cause for their deaths. Right there lay two stake-like weapons decorated with an occult design, which had been found driven into Uncle Kraus's thigh area and near Aunt Natsuhi's calf. When we found these sticking out of my parents' forehead and chest, we decided to preserve the crime scene and leave them for the police. But Jessica didn't care about such matters and immediately pulled the stakes out of her parents' forsaken bodies. By now, bodies gouged in the head, chest, stomach, knee, and leg have been found. Damn it! I'll kill that murderer! With this, the 8th twilight has been completed. Is this going to continue on to the 9th twilight? The witch shall be revived, and none shall be left alive. Bring it on! If the witch revives, that means the culprit is gonna make his grand appearance, right? No one's going to be left alive? Bullshit. I'll kill him. I'll definitely kill the culprit who killed Dad and Mom with my own hands! And also Kanon. Don't forget about Kanon. Jessica let her emotions flow out as she howled furiously. To avoid being crushed by grief, she could do nothing but resist it with anger. We still haven't found George. Jessica, you children had better stay here. I'll go into the mansion. Ava-san, we mustn't split up. It's dangerous if we do not all stick together. There's nothing we can do for Nissan or his wife. But George may still be alive somewhere. I have no time to waste here. I understand your sentiments, ma'am, but this is a bad idea. As Aunt Ava screamed this, Jessica glared at her. Ava had no more time to bother about the dead. She was more concerned for the safety of her only son, who had yet to be seen. Jessica-chan, you should stay by your father and mother's side. I'll make a short trip to the mansion. Battler-kun and Dr. Nanjo, you two can stay here as well. After arbitrarily saying this, Aunt Ava rushed out of the arbor. I called out to stop her, but there was no way she would listen. However, being alone in this situation meant nothing short of death. We silently watched her leave. It would be the same as letting her die. Since Aunt Ava was unwilling to stop, we had no choice but to follow her. While it may be cruel to say so, Uncle Kraus and Aunt Natsuki were already dead, so there was nothing more we could do for them. In the end, they had no choice but to console Jessica and head for the mansion together. Fortunately, Jessica stood up. Perhaps she had been able to break free from her grief. But what had surfaced in its place was an expression like a demon's. I'll kill that person with my own hands. I'll definitely avenge them. Let's go, Battler. If we find the culprit, don't get in my way. I'm definitely gonna kill them. I've got my own parents to revenge. Sorry, but this is first come, first serve. Well, at least he's referring to Kirie as his mother now, I guess. Yeah, that's right. Let's kill them. And my words, Jessica finally seemed to feel like we sympathized with her emotions. She still had that dark expression, but I felt that Jessica had regained some of her sanity. We took off, chasing after Aunt Ava. Through the rose garden, up the stone steps, running at full speed towards the mansion. This large, intimidating shadow flashed in the lightning. With this, the murders of the epitaph had reached the 8th twilight. And then, on the 9th twilight, the witch shall revive. None shall be left alive. I will most likely lose my life, but at the very least, I want to burn the truth into my eyes. That's the only thing motivating me right now. We were able to meet up with Aunt Ava, who was having trouble with the lock to the front door. It seemed that all the blood had risen to Aunt Ava's head. Imagine being so angry. You don't know how to open the door. I was probably making her fingers clumsy. It looked like she couldn't even handle the simple task of inserting the key into the lock. Then, there was a faint sound. The sound of the door unlocking. Just as though it had waited for all the survivors to unite before opening. It felt to me as though the malicious mansion was trying to swallow up all the remaining humans at once. Perhaps the stench that erupted outwards the instant the door opened. Could it be described as just a smell? Damn, there were so many dead bodies in that mansion. Plus, the, frickin' Kinzo in the oven? Like, not the oven, the furnace. It wasn't just the charred smell from Grandfather. I think it also may have contained the regret of the servants in Dad's group. All of the dead. What did it mean as it floated out, overwhelming us? Was it the cry of the dead, telling us not to enter? However, Aunt Ava didn't even flinch at something like this. and we had to chase after her. We're forced to step into the mansion even after receiving that message. George! George! If you can hear me, answer! George! And Ava shouted at the top of her lungs, considering the situation. It's probably far too optimistic to imagine that he's alive. But we started following Aunt Ava's example and calling out George's name in loud voices. Aunt Ava spotted something and stopped walking. She was standing in front of the door to the parlor. What is this? Dr. Nanjo, could you come here for a second? What is it? I'd heard about the eerie magic circles written on doors, like the one on the parlor from the adults. Eerie is the only way to describe that thing. Which was scribbled with a deep red paint reminiscent of blood so that it slowly dripped down. However, that thing has supposedly been there since this morning. Wondering why Aunt Ava, who had supposedly seen it already, would think it on now. Jessica and I stared at the door. Certainly, I have no memory of numbers such as these being written here. Right, they weren't. Eerie magical characters were written here, but not numbers. From what the two of them said, only the magic circle had been there this morning. However, right now there were 8 digits written near the upper part of the magic circle. 07151129. July 15th, November 29th? I didn't know what it meant, but I didn't even want to imagine what someone had been thinking when they wrote it. It was drawn with the same paint as the magic circle, but it had clearly been written very recently. Is this like a bank account number? Is this the number for the account where George had like all of his money stashed? I'm sure it has some magical meaning. No point wasting time thinking about it. Jessica intentionally spat those words out in an attempt to push aside the eerie feeling it gave off. It could be a magic square. The idea that a ward against magic can reside in a certain sort of number play. I believe everyone has heard of the one where adding all of the numbers in each row and column leads to the same sum. You mean Sudoku? Wasn't that a group of numbers buried in a rectangle? This is just a single row. I don't have a clue what it could mean. What Jessica said is probably correct. There isn't any point in us wasting time thinking about it. Even though she said that, she probably suspected that it actually meant something. And Ava was definitely writing that number down on an old receipt or something with a short ballpoint pen. Unless it has some obvious pattern, it'd probably be tough to memorize a code made up of an 8-digit number. Could this be a date? Or something. A date? What are you talking about? Well, it's probably a coincidence. But my birthday is July 15th. Oh? Once I thought that 0715 might refer to the July 15th. I figured that if 1129 stood for November 29, maybe that fit perfectly. Why would your birthday be written in a place like this? And what's up with November 29? That's what I want to know. Still, it's probably just a coincidence. Do we know anyone else's birthdays? Rip. When I thought about it, it started feeling a little creepy. What if someone's birthday was November 29? That's not the birthday of anyone else in my family, not Dad or Kyrie-san or Ange. And of course, it isn't my mom's either. Oh no! There we go. Oops, nothing comes to mind. I don't believe it's Kenzo-san or Genji's birthday. It isn't from my family either. And it isn't Rosa's or Maria-chan's. So it'd have to be either Shannon or Kanon's. Or even Beatrice's. It can't be anyone in my family. Oh, never mind, and it isn't Kanon-kun or Shannon's. I always give the servants presents on their birthday, so I know it for all of them. She's so nice. What a nice, rich girl. So many get stuck up. Not this girly, though. But I don't know anyone who was born on November 29th. Once we started imagining that the 8 digits weren't meaningless, but actually 2 dates written together, it really started to look that way. However, its true meaning may be something completely different, or there may be no meaning at all. Anyway, since we didn't have any real clues, it's probably pointless to stand around here worrying about it. The inside of the parlor is much more important. This morning, behind each of the doors with a magic circle drawn on them, had been the body of a victim. So, if something new had been added to this door, does that mean something new has been added inside the parlor? Rest in peace, Ava. You're not gonna like what you see. And Ava tried to open it. She felt the resistance of the lock. She immediately took out a master key and put it in the keyhole. And as soon as she opened the door, Aunt Ava let out a high-pitched scream and ran inside. Yeah. Sorry to do this to you, ma'am. That alone was enough to tell us what had happened inside the room. Dr. Nanjo and I looked at each other, and I shook my head slightly as we entered the parlor. George! 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 Oh no, he's Dr. Nanjo, quickly! George Aniki lay there, crumpled alongside Shannon-chan's corpse. His chest was stained bright red. And judging by his still opened eyes, I'd hate to say it to Aunt Ava, but I couldn't pick up any signs of life. After moving to take George's pulse, Dr. Nanjo shook his head, wordlessly reporting that George was dead. Brushing him aside, Aunt Ava once again crouched beside George Aniki and started crying at the top of her lungs. With Aniki's death, one thing is certain. The murders hadn't ended on the 8th twilight. The epitaph was being carried out in its complete form, including the night twilight, and none shall be left alive. It's really starting to lose track of things. For some reason, Aunt Ava's half-crazed cries actually made me cool down. Crestfallen and exhausted, I flopped onto the sofa and plunked my feet on top of the table. Eh! That's rude, that's not yours! Put your feet down! Maybe all these murders had numbed my heart. Instead of just being frightened, I felt completely confused. Dad and Kirei-san are dead. People have been killed off, one by one, starting with the servants. And there's been a hell of a lot of them by now. I don't know when the first murder happened, but they might have been killed at a rate of about one person per hour now. Yeah, Bia's been on quite the spree. We believe that the boat will come for us around 9 tomorrow. That's still a full 12 hours until then. How many more sacrifices to the witch will there have to be for us to survive? With the 4 of us, if one goes each hour, we won't last any longer than 4 hours. We don't even know if we'll last until midnight. Yesterday, after lunch, we came into this parlor. Just as they had started talking about serving some tea Aunt Rosa had bought, we kids decided to take a walk. Maria was jumping around, wasn't she? Didn't Shanan-chan bring us some cookies? He said Kumasawa-san had baked them, or something. Would have been hilarious if she'd baked some mackerel into them, wouldn't it? That's right. I'll never hear Kumasawa-bachan's mackerel jokes again, will I? Alright, if I only remember stuff about Kumasawa-bachan, that would it be fair to everyone else? Why did Dad and Kirei-san even go outside? It's not like going without food for a day would kill us. It wouldn't. They're just selfish, dumb adults. So why did Gluttony get a hold of them and make them go out for food? I'll bet that fearless dad of mine just started complaining about being hungry. Kirei-san, you were supposed to be the brakes for my reckless dad. Why didn't you stop him? Joke's on you, it was her idea! And what about your daughter, Ange? She's still just 6 years old. Don't tell me you plan to leave her in my care. After all, it's doubtful now whether even I'll be able to leave this island alive. Stop! Why are you fighting at a time like this? Jessica-san, stop! It's been kind of noisy for a while. By the time I looked up to see what it was, Jessica and Aunt Ava had suddenly started fighting each other. What? Why? No, maybe I should say that Jessica was grabbing at Aunt Ava. Aunt Ava killed Dad in the wrist. There's no other explanation. What happened here? Oh, foolish. Why should I know anything about what happened to your parents? Who was on the first floor of the guest house? Aunt Ava. Daddy and Mom were in the first floor lobby along with her. And who was left alive? Aunt Ava. Why? It's obviously because you're the culprit. You killed Mom and Dad, carried them outside, and then shamelessly locked the door, trying to make it seem like it was the witch's doing. Then how do you think George disappeared? He never came down to the first floor. So did he disappear from the second floor? And who was on the second floor? You people were, right? You didn't you? You knew that George slipped out of the guest house, and you brazenly acted as if you didn't know anything. If you stopped George, he'd be... I said stop! Jessica-san was in the cousin room the whole time, and Aunt Ava was in the first floor lobby the whole time. Neither of you is responsible for anything. What we have here is simply the sadness of losing family members. The culprit is no one, nowhere. It is all just the witch's fault. So stop hating each other. The witch's fault, huh? I wonder if that's a good way to cool down the situation right now. Yeah, I finally understand why 3 people evaporated from the guest house when all the doors and windows were locked from the inside. This is what they were after, making us think the culprit was inside and sparking this ugly mutual hatred. Has to be the culprits, the witch's goal. But if that's the case, how did the culprit lock it from the outside? When Dad's group was attacked, their master key was definitely stolen. But the doors and windows to the guest house were built so that you couldn't lock them from the outside, no matter how hard you tried. So, that master key should have nothing to do with the guest house closed room. Jessica and Aunt Ava were turning their sadness and losing their blood relatives into anger at the person in front of them. Dr. Nanjo was trying to step between them. And I sat in the sofa, staring up at the ceiling, thinking about things that didn't even matter anymore, with a worn-out expression. I just couldn't believe that this was the same parlor that had been so warm and pleasant midday yesterday, for just a short time before the typhoon hit. Welp. The sudden sound of a gunshot shook me out of my half-asleep trance. Smoke was rising out of the barrel of the gun Aunt Ava held. Jessica had fallen to the floor and was covering both her eyes. Aunt Ava and Dr. Nanjo were looking down at her in shock. Are you okay, Jessica's? Jessica's son! Hurts! It hurts! It wasn't my fault! This happened because you came at me after I told you to stop, bitch! Hey, wait a second, what's going on? So, did Jessica grab at Aunt Ava, which turned into a scuffle? Did they start fighting over Aunt Ava's gun? Did some kind of impact cause the trigger to be pulled? I don't know if the bullet had grazed or if she'd been burned by the discharge. But either way, Jessica was covering both her eyes, screaming, it hurts, and rolling around on the floor. Don't worry, calm down. It is not a serious wound, so get a hold of yourself. My eyes, it hurts. I can't see. Dr. Nanjo let Jessica burrow his shoulder, saying that he would tend to her in the servant room. The servant room in this mansion had a bed and a first aid kit, and was able to function as an infirmary. Damn it! You killed Mom and Dad! Oh, killing? Wasn't me! It was me! Jessica, you'll aggravate the wound, so don't move about! Come, let us go! Jessica continued to curse Aunt Ava as her parents' murderer. It seemed that Aunt Ava couldn't conceal her trembling at the fact that she had pulled the trigger, even if it had been an accident. Was it my fault? It happened because that kid jumped at me. I didn't kill anyone. More importantly, who killed George? What? Importantly, you nearly shot a child! That's right, who killed George? George! Wait a second, Aunt Ava! Don't go off on your own! I don't know if it was because Aunt Ava couldn't bear her mistake, or if she'd given up control of her body to anger at the person who had killed her only son, or if it was both of those mixed together. At any rate, she ran into the corridor, yelling fearfully and screaming. I was worried about Jessica's condition, but right then, I couldn't leave Aunt Ava alone. Why would she go off on her own in the mansion of all places? Is she suicidal? Dr. Nanjo took Jessica towards the servant room. I chased after Aunt Ava, dashing into the depths of the mansion. What could possibly go wrong? After sending Jessica on the servant room bed, Dr. Nanjo told her several times not to touch her eyes and examine the affected area. The barrel had probably been near her eyes. There was a possibility that the flames from the discharge had injured her corneas. There was no threat to her life, but it would probably be necessary to take her to a doctor as soon as possible. Well, we've got a doctor right here. You mean a hospital? Nanjo applied emergency first aid, covering the affected area with gauze and wrapping it with a bandage. As a result, Jessica completely lost her field of vision. Is that okay? That wound might hurt or itch, but you mustn't scratch at it or rub it. When tomorrow comes, let us go to an ophthalmologist. There we go. As soon as possible. She really was trying to kill me. If the ankle had been just a little bit off, I'd have been killed by now. We'll definitely turn her into the police. Ava-san would not do such a thing. That was an accident. You called it an accident? She killed Mom and Dad. There's no way any 19th person or witch exists on this island. She's behind everything. She was the only one on the first floor of the guest house. George Nissan must have seen her kill Mom and Dad as she killed him to keep him quiet. Now you're just talking nonsense. It's the same with Grandfather and the servants. I'm sure she snuck out at the family conference last night and killed them all. If that is indeed the case, then we'll find out about it as soon as the police investigate. The police are incredible. Huh? And with their powers of discernment, there is nothing that cannot be understood, except for, you know, the thousands of cold cases. There is no need for us to suspect or hate anyone. The police will resolve everything. So for now, Jessica, you should devote yourself to resting your body and keeping your eyes safe. Of course, if you wrinkle your forehead too much, it will do nothing good for your eyes, not to mention your beauty. Thanks. When Jessica's abuse of Ava had reached a crescendo, she actually had started glaring instinctively, and the pressure on her eyes had hurt her. Jessica herself realized that the more she talked, the more the wound would hurt. And regardless of whether she'd overcome her suspicions of Ava, she regained her composure for the time being. She killed him. Dad and Mom, and Shannon, and Kanon-kun. Kanon-kun. She'd heard that Kanon-kun had been killed in the chapel. Jessica still hadn't seen his face after he had died. Jessica was now less fearful about the fact that she was blinded, and more frightened that the police would carry Kanon's body away while she still couldn't see, and that she would have to say her final farewell without being able to look at his face. Y'all don't want to look at the faces of people who have died, okay? It doesn't give you as much closure as you think. I mean, y'all, Japan leans towards cremation, but surely there would be a funeral. You can say your goodbye to them then. After the coroner and the mortician fix them up so they don't look like they've been brutally murdered. One sec, I gotta blow my nose. There we go. Her anger at the culprit and her sadness at the death of the person she'd liked. These mixed emotions started her crying. But right now, tears were actually painful for her, so she wasn't even permitted to leisurely remember his face in bygone days. Jessica could do nothing but sit on the bed and let her head droop, withstanding the pain. Shouldn't she flush the eyes? Oh, something like that? Like if there's gunpowder in her eye, shouldn't you be flushing her eyes? I don't know. This is definitely not my area of expertise. I'm an apothecary, not an actual doctor here. Well then, now I am worried a bit more about Ava-san. I hope she isn't too shaken by this. Realizing that Jessica had calmed down for the time being and letting out a sigh, he stuck his head out into the hallway to look for any sign of the others coming back. Hi! Then their eyes met. Nanjo, unable to understand who this person was bewildered for an instant. I hear that people who have lost the power of sight have zero anti-magic power and magic resistance. In other words, you're an isolated pawn right now. Understand what that means? What did you say? Nanjo had no way of understanding who the person in front of him was, much less what she had just said. Dr. Nanjo? What's going on? Unable to see, Jessica had to rely on voices alone to make out the situation. But since she heard Nanjo say something in an uneasy tone, she tightened up, thinking that something bad might have happened. Stop, please! Please don't kill me! I have a sick grandchild! I mustn't die here! Please spare me! Dr. Nanjo? Dr. Nanjo? Jessica couldn't do anything except call from the bed. Judging by the tone of his voice, Nanjo was in the corridor confronting someone. And he was scared. His life must have been threatened just a second ago. Ah, we love that crazy, crazy bee. No, stop it! On the night twilight, the witch shall revive, and none shall be left alive. I can't wait until we never see this demonic child again. The witch pointed at the end of her gold staff at Nanjo. Even though he didn't know what she was planning to do, Nanjo assumed that she must be trying to take his life. Dr. Nanjo! Dr. Nanjo! It's me! Stop. Oof. A sharp sound echoed. And just as sharply, the tip of the golden staff tapered and stretched, slicing into Nanjo's forehead. Ugh. Jessica couldn't grasp what was happening with her ears, had no clue what was going on. But even so, she was able to realize that with that sound, Nanjo had died. And she could tell that that person was now in the corridor, right in front of the servant room. Furthermore, since she couldn't see, she wouldn't be able to run away, much less resist. Knowing that she was a mouse in a trap and in a life-or-death situation, Jessica shuddered. Oh, Jessica, too bad your eyes got injured. Now you can't even escape. I'm gonna play a whole lot with Nanjo's corpse now. When I get bored of that, I'll kill you next and play a bunch more. No, wait, if I've got you here blind already, I won't wait until you're dead. I'll have a lot of fun with you before I kill you too. Oh my god. So wait there shaking for a while, okay? As you try to imagine all the ways I'm playing with Nanjo's corpse. God. She wanted to scream in a much louder voice, trying to get someone to help her, but she couldn't. When faced with true fear, it clogs up a person's throat. Right then, Jessica could barely even breathe. Help me. She searched around with her hands, trying to find some way to escape. But even though she should have known this room well, just being unable to see made it like a closed room of darkness. She ran into a shelf or something, and things like candy jars and bottles fell down, hitting her on the head. As she was now, it would be tough for her to even guard her head to block it. She was painfully aware of how powerless humans became just by losing their sense of sight. Of course, she had no time to be impressed by this fact. She crawled around at random, trying to escape from that place. But she kept bumping into things that she didn't understand, getting hit by various falling objects, and felt like the entire room was alive, bullying her and refusing to let her escape. Then a footstep could be heard from that presence in the hallway. And then a voice. She'd probably poked her head into the room since Jessica had been so loud. You really are noisy. Act like a lady and wait there on the bed. 'Cause I'll give you a wonderful blood-red death outfit fitting for such an honored daughter. Something good enough to make the person who finds you faint, okay? Till just a second ago, she had sworn that she'd kill the culprit if she found them. However, she was now very powerless. Well, if only you hadn't jumped at Ava. She couldn't do anything except let out a scream, crawling around on the floor and bumping her head into the bed and the legs of desks. Help me! Help me! Someone help me! Dad! No! Help me! Some... me! In the corridor, as the witch thought of how to toy with Nanjo's life, a single gold butterfly secretly watched that scene from the corner of the hallway. It was Bieto, who had barely escaped with her life once before. The gold butterfly softly returned to human form. It was faint and transparent, like a lace curtain. By now, her power was so weak that even maintaining this form was difficult for her. Right next to her, Ronov also appeared. It is unlikely that Jessica will survive. Of course, there were to be no survivors from the very beginning. She has grown feelings of love for Kanon. I have toyed with them at times. However, such behavior was shameful for a witch. Love is the single element. Romantic love is even more pure, more sacred. Though for some reason, he seemed to despise it thoroughly, milady. Teacher told me magic exists to bring people happiness. That's something I myself...
From the standpoint that I know how to save the invisible.
What? It throws me off when there's suddenly, like, dialogue in the music. I feel like suddenly, like, some video, like, I forgot to close is playing. That's something I must have been aware of in the past. When I forgot that, I stopped being a witch. And so, I lost the right to be Battler's opponent. I can hardly believe it, milady. Do you actually intend to rescue Jessica? It will be dangerous, I know. Even if I do save her, she will become a plaything of the witch's banquet when the door to the Golden Land opens. But even so, that death would be far more compassionate than what that person would do to her. The witch's banquet steals lives in a terrible way, but it does not do so more than once. It does not toy with life and death. However, that person is different. She kills over and over. She kills for fun. There's not even a trace of compassion there. I want to at least save Jessica from that kind of cruel fate. Certainly, by carrying that out, you would probably be praised as a good witch. However, new Beatrice Summer already views you as hostile, milady. If you were to be seen by her again, you would not have any method of escape this time, correct? When I reunited George and Shannon, I finally understood what a witch is, and what magic is. I am a witch. I must act as a witch. I must be acknowledged as Battler's opponent. Make Battler accept me as a witch this time around. The road to that goal may be long and difficult. However, if I do not take a step forward here and now, I won't be able to call myself a witch. I understand your feelings, but how do you plan to rescue her? There are not many forms of magic that your body is capable of now, milady. To Did you not have to borrow George's power even back when you revived Shannon? Indeed. For that very reason, I may be able to save Jessica. Right now, she is begging for Kanon to save her. If I can borrow the power of that emotion, my magic may be able to knock on the doors of the land of the dead once again. You may be able to knock, however, you would use up all of your magical energy. If you were to be spotted by the new Beatrice-sama, you would truly be without a method of escape. I am no longer your butler, milady. Understand that I cannot assist you if the situation worsens. I know. By now, I have toyed with and taken more lives than I can count. So I may not be able to make up for it, except by saving the same number of lives, running them through that door. I've had nothing to lose in the first place. I am just a gold butterfly who has passed its name and magic power on, and who is no longer acknowledged as a witch. What about Battler-sama? You were partway through a game with him. He said that he would wait until you returned. Are you truly satisfied to end it here? You have a duty to return to the seat across from Battler-sama, milady. For that very reason, there's a life that only I can save. I will save it. And I will be accepted as a witch. I must become a witch. If this is training, it is a very childish thing. Nothing that compares with the evils I have committed before now. Vanish, Ronoff. Watch what may be the final magic of a single butterfly who used to be called a witch. Certainly. Please show me magic that will not disgrace the name of the Golden Witch. And I pray that it is not your final spell. Go, my friend. If you find enough ink, write down the story of my foolish life and hand it over to some fool who is about to walk down the same path. So long, Ronoff. Beato's actually turning out to be a pretty cool character, I gotta say. She's had a full character growth arc here. Kanon-kun, where are you? Where are you? Help me! Help me! Milady, I am always there by your side. Kanon-kun? Kanon-kun! Seemed to Jessica as though she'd heard Kanon-kun's voice just then. Thank you for the hydrate and the stretch zone! She looked around with unseeing eyes, but of course, she saw nothing. On the contrary, that action caused her to hit the desk again. Kanon-kun! Kanon-kun! Help me! Help me! Yes, milady. I will help you. Kanon-kun! You survived? This time, she thought she heard his voice clearly. Jessica jumped up in surprise, banging her head against the desk once again. Milady, please calm your heart and listen. Unfortunately, I am not alive. I have already died. However, that witch came to me to tell me of your peril, and she gave me just a little bit of time so that I could save you, milady. Please, calm your heart even more. If you do, my form will become visible even to you, milady. Jessica obeyed those words, She chased all idle thoughts from her head and relaxed her breathing. Of course, her heart felt like it was going to explode after hearing the voice of the one she'd liked and had thought was dead. She resisted the excitement with all her strength. When she did, she felt as though Kanon-kun really was in front of her. Even though she shouldn't have been able to see him with her eyes, she was able to see him clearly. Can you see me, milady? Yeah, I can definitely see you, Kanon-kun. I exist only as a soul now, so I cannot touch you, milady. I cannot do anything except talk to you like this. With my current weak existence, I can do nothing more than that. But I should be able to be of some aid to you, milady. So, we can only talk? I can't touch you, Kanon-kun? I am now more fragile than smoke from a candle. So much so that if one of the living such as you were to touch me, I would be wiped away instantly. So please, don't try to touch me. Because I am also holding back my desire to touch you, milady. Okay. More importantly, milady, please listen well. The new Golden Witch has a cruel heart. She has surely made plans to make you meet with a horrible fate. You must escape from this room and hide. How? I can't see anything. Quiet. I will be your eyes, milady. Please move in accordance with my instructions. First, please crawl 3 steps from there, then stand up. You are now under the desk, milady. If you stand there, you'll hit your head. That was under the desk? Okay. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna stand. Well done. Next, please turn to face towards 9 o'clock. Yes, well done. This is pretty embarrassing. Is it? Ow, ow, ow. Are you okay? Does your wound hurt? No, I'm fine. What's next? Jessica thought that if this was a dream, she didn't want to wake up. And if she were allowed to, she would have wanted to take off the bandage covering her eyes and see him. However, if she did that, Kanon might vanish like frail candle smoke, just like he himself had said. She was afraid of that. So, she satisfied herself with just listening to his words once more, repressing her desire to see him, to hold him. Therefore, what hurt her eyes now were tears of gratitude. Tears of gratitude for the god, or maybe the witch who had given her this miraculous moment. Is this okay? If we keep talking like this, won't we be noticed by her? Won't our voices be heard? I've erected a secrecy barrier. As long as we don't make any loud noises or speak noisily, no one will notice us. That's why people can't tell when I'm around. I don't really get it, but anyway, we'll be fine as long as we stay quiet, right? What should I do next? Please walk 10 steps in that direction. You will touch the sofa. Please continue along that. Do it slowly. Stay calm. Believe in my words. Sure. It's weird, even though it's so scary not being able to see. I'm not scared at all if you're with me, Kanon-kun. Yes, that is the sofa. Trace it to the left while advancing slowly. There was a table just to your left. Be careful not to bump into it with your shins. It was a very, very strange and bizarre team effort, even though she would have been killed in an instant if the terrible witch noticed her. There was no fear in Jessica's heart. She was being protected and guided by Kanon, who she thought she would never be reunited with. It would probably be just a momentary miracle. Even so, Jessica was deeply grateful for it. And trying to engrave this moment into her heart for all eternity, she slowly continued to walk, obeying Kanon's voice. Okay, if you walk 10 more steps, you will exit the servant room. Then please turn to face 9 o'clock and keep walking very slowly. Put your hand on the wall to your right and keep on following that. I will take you to a safe room. If I go there, will you leave, Kanon-kun? Kanon did not answer, but his lack of an answer was enough to tell her the truth. Then, no way. I don't want to go. If you stay here, you will be killed by the witch. I don't mind. If I'm killed, I can go to the world where you are. Milady, please listen to me. The human world is too bright and painful for the dead like me, so I cannot stay for long. So, milady, please allow me to use what time I am allowed to guide you to a safe place, because after that, I will stay with you until my time runs out. Is that the very best you can manage, Kanon-kun? Yes. In exchange, I will stay by your side as long as possible. I will stay with you and talk with you, milady. Talk about what? What do you want to talk about? I don't care what, as long as you're willing to tell me, Kanon-kun. Well then, I will tell you the story of a cowardly servant boy who lacked all courage. The story of a foolish and pitiful boy who fell in love with a young lady as radiant as the sun. Even when the lady confessed those same feelings to him, he lost to his cowardice and was never able to be honest with his feelings while he was still alive. Yes, then I want to tell you a story too. It's the story of a cowardly girl who couldn't muster the courage to tell the boy she loved how she felt much, much more often. The story of how that girl, after being reunited with that boy by a miracle from God, used that chance to finally muster up her courage. I also want to hear that. So, for that reason as well, let us go to a safe place. Yeah. If I could be with you, Kanon-kun, I would walk however far, however long it took. I don't need eyes anymore. If you tell me to step forward, I will take that step, even if it leads off a cliff. Thank you. Come, lady. Let us go. The first 10 steps. No, I don't like it. I won't do it unless you call me Jessica. Is now really the time to be spoiled? Understood. Well then, Jessica. Take the first 10 steps. Yes, Kanon-kun. Very quietly, Jessica and Kanon slowly snuck out of the servant room. Just around the corner, the witch could be seen cruelly looking down at Nanjo's corpse. However, Rona, who stood by her side at the ready, met Kanon's eyes. Kanon thought, oh no, grimacing and blocking Jessica with his back. However, Ronov did not inform his master. He played dumb, just as though he hadn't spotted Kanon in the first place. No, maybe he did appear to chuckle. From a finger on Ronov's hand, which were joined behind his back, a single small gold butterfly appeared. Flying in front of Kanon, as though guiding him, it went unnoticed by the master he served. Kanon was surprised at the magic that butterfly held, because it was far more powerful than the secrecy barrier Kanon possessed. He may not have known it, but that power of his had originally been Ronov's. Kanon's ability was an imitation of that, which Kinzo had made and given to him. As that butterfly of secrecy magic scattered gold scales, it grew smaller, bit by bit. It probably wouldn't last long. But, without a doubt, even that would buy them enough time to get them far away from the cruel witch. Okay, milady. Let's follow that wall and keep walking. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah. If I can be with you, Kanon-kun, I'll keep going on and on. Led and protected by the small gold butterfly, the pair, separated by the wall of life and death, slowly walked away towards the end of the corridor. There was no way that evil witch could have had magic to notice their flight. Until they disappeared at the other end of the corridor, the witch didn't realize that Jessica had vanished. By the time the gold butterfly Ronov had sent evaporated completely, Jessica had reached the parlor. Even though it would have been a quick trip if she'd been able to see as she was now, it had been a very long adventure. Come, milady, we've reached the parlor. I will now take you to the bundle of curtains by the window. If you hide in there, you'll surely be safe. Inside the curtains? Not bad. I used to hide in there a lot, long ago. Beatrice-sama? Huh? Kanon called out the witch's name. Jessica looked around in surprise, but she obviously couldn't spot the witch when she couldn't see. Beato had appeared once again with a faint form. Kanon squared off against the figure of the evil witch, but Beato's expression was soft, or even pitying. I don't understand what sort of whim led you to revive me, nor do I understand what you're thinking now. Oh, it was nothing more than a whim. No, this is how witches should be. It took me 1,000 years to realize that. That is how foolish it is. Who is it? Who's there? Milady, be quiet. She is the witch, Beatrice. I owe her, because she let me be with you. One more time. The witch, Beatrice. Forget about me. More importantly, you should quickly hide that girl in the shadow of the curtains. You probably do not have much time left. You may spend it having a final conversation with Jessica. A secret meeting inside a bunch of curtains? How clever you two are. Sounds like a straight-up scene from a shoujo manga. I have definitely read manga like this. Thank you, Beatrice. Thank you for letting me be with Kanon-kun. Jessica didn't know where Bieto was, so she said that while facing in the wrong direction. Perhaps because she found that funny, Bieto snickered. I will now leave this room to the pair of lovers. Evil witches have no need for tales of love. Allow me to depart. Beatrice-sama, thank you very much. There's no need to thank me. You know that something like this cannot compensate for all the evil I have done. I offer my gratitude to this good witch as a parting gift. I don't know what has happened before, or what will happen later. However, at this very moment, you're, without a doubt, a good witch. You flatter me, Furniture. The next time we meet, I may be an evil witch who doesn't betray your expectations. And with that, farewell. Bieto left the parlor and closed the door. And mustering the last of her remaining magic, she sealed the door. The fact that those two had escaped into here would eventually be noticed. And now that the night twilight had been reached, no matter how much they struggled, their inescapable fate had already been decided. However, until that final moment, they should be given the chance to speak with each other of their love. The witch poured out all her magical power to protect their time together, so that no one would be able to defile their time alone until the last possible moment. At that time, Bieto noticed something. Her body had been detected by a magical searching technique. The evil witch's furniture had sniffed this place out. So boorishness is the witch's way of doing things after all. To think she doesn't even intend to let these two young ones speak together of their love. 45, data received. Checking target confirmed as the predecessor, Lady Beatrice. Analyzing parlor defensive wall. 72-layered, multi-layered defensive wall, attack-proof barrier, and anti-magic armor. Sniping into the parlor will be impossible. DD, hi, Ranger! Data link to 410. 410, data received. Then we just got the predecessor first, Nia. Great Lady Beatrice, your firing permission, please. Go ahead and shoot. Oh, and avoid her vital areas. There's something I want to ask the old hag. You at work? It happens. Understandable. 410 firing. The Chyster sisters' gold bow released a gold snake. It crawled down the corridor, starting from the front of the servant room, aiming for the parlor as it drew a soft, snake-like, curved line trajectory. And pierced Bieto's chest. Ugh! Gold butterflies gathered, and the cruel witch appeared along with her furniture. Predecessor-sama, no further obstructions will be permitted. I didn't think they would be. Still, the Chyster sisters have really gotten rusty. To think they failed to bring me down, and twice at that. Though now spoke in a manner befitting the witch's butler. So how's the game going? Well, everyone's dying. We're down to 4 people left. But it's basically most of them have resolved the fact that they're all gonna die here, so they're all just trying to go out in the best way possible. why they dying? Cause the witch is killing them. This, like, evil-ass, like, 8-year-old who split up from, what's her name? Ava? One of the adults? She's just been, like, killing them for fun and bringing them back to life and killing them again and just torturing them. So, yeah. We were ordered to avoid vital areas. As soon as we get the order, we can pierce you at any time. We can pierce a hole in your ears, a hole in your belly button, a hole you like. Oh, how nice! The gold snake that had pierced Beatrice grew even longer, drawing a funnel-shaped helix and awaiting its next order. It was prepared to pierce a vital spot as soon as the evil witch told it to. For what reason would someone like you, who is no less brutal than I, make them avoid my vital areas? New Beatrice. I want to ask you something. I don't know what kind of trick you used to escape, but we thought we took you out, right? Is it that even though you could have escaped by hiding, you took the risk of appearing again? It can't be that you came back just to protect those 2 young people, right? Surprise! She's decided to turn over a new leaf and not be an evil bastard. Well, who knows? Who knows indeed? And just a second ago, why'd you do something as soft as reviving the lovers and reuniting them? The more I hear about you, the more I learn that I don't even reach up to your feet as an incarnation of evil. If you're like that, then why did you suddenly start acting so, milady? Hello, Sayphone! How's it going? That's what I wanted to ask. I am brutal, therefore I am fickle. What purpose could questioning that possibly serve? Chester sister, sew her. When she ordered that, the gold snake that was curled into her helix and suspended in space moved as fast as a real snake and pierced Beato's body multiple times from both sides, its gold tail drawing an X shape. Oof. Kid Stasis, you're on a trip. I thought I'd drop in to say hi for sure. Nice to see ya. As the cruel witch had ordered, it drew a cross-stitch through Beato's chest. The gold thread made a squeaking sound and tormented Beato. Rather than a gold snake searching for its prey, it waited for orders like a sewing needle, ready to sew Beato. If it's you we're talking about, there's no way it could have been a whim. I've heard about you, and I've learned. You're such an incarnation of evil that I don't even rise up to your feet. I thought I was truly a fitting successor to you. But you've always been in the way. You always say warm and pleasant things that shock me. What changed you? You explored the depths of evil for 1,000 years, and I let you live. Because I wanted to know what happened to make you change so much. If you really want to know, then I suggest you waste 1,000 years as well. So... Bruh. Beato's chest was once again sewn with a golden cross-stitch. Excuse me. It tightened once again, squeezing fresh blood from Beato's chest. The intense pain it caused ran in conflict with its beauty to the eye. You might be one of those things that disappear when they die and don't leave a corpse. So I'll kill you slowly. But if you answer my question honestly, I'll let you die easy. I'll give you a splendid, gorgeous death, perfect for my predecessor, Sama. I'll sink you in a coffin filled with water and roses. Isn't that wonderful? And you still won't talk? About the reason for your change of heart? Not answering when she is asked is another one of an evil witch's pleasures. So, twice. Of course you don't have to answer. After all, that way I get to torture you. Endless magic truly is wonderful. When you think about it, this world is limited in every way. Because gods are without limits. The human world is deprived of all limitless so that they can be looked down upon. So in other words, this endless power is the power of the gods. A wonderful power, where the more you play with it, the more fun ways of playing you find. You use that power as you pleased for 1,000 years and went on a rampage. Why are you having a change of heart only now? You aren't gonna say you regret handing it over to me, are you? How could I regret it? The endless magic you believe in is no magic at all. True magic lies in a deep abyss that you most certainly cannot reach. And this is what you realized? Then what is it? Wander about for 1,000 years without realizing, foolish witch. So, 3 times this time. Vieto's chest had been embroidered with the gold thread. It tightened even more, causing Vieto more and more pain. Well, that's fine. I'm no longer curious about what kind of revelations an old hag who refuses to die might have had. I'm bored now, so I'll just kill you. If I do, the barrier around the parlor will dissolve. Then I'll torture Kanon and Jessica to death a whole bunch of times. Being able to have 2 lovers as my toys at the same time sounds pretty fun, right? Killer! Without missing by a millimeter, the gold sword thread shot through Vieto's heart. The intense pain was worse than all of the pain before that put together. Vieto finally remembered the actual feeling of dying, which she had forgotten over the course of 1,000 years. But she couldn't die. She must not die. If she died, it would mean handing over the 2 in the parlor to the cruel witch. So she definitely couldn't die. She resolutely refused to die. New Beatrice, I have a request. Lovers' meeting between the 2 in the parlor will not last long, and the amount of time an hourglass can measure. Kanon will probably vanish into the land of the dead. Would you please allow them at least that much time? No way! Isn't Tearing Apart 2 who love each other fun? You said it yourself, so I want to try it. In that case, I mustn't allow you that pleasure. Yes, it can be fun, tearing apart lovers. Really? I'm sure it is fun. So don't get in my way. So, Forte, understood? The merciless gold sewing needle sewed the gold thread through Vieto's heart over and over again. However, no matter how much it tightened, that heart did not stop. nearly enough. I won't die by something like this. What are you doing? Make this old hag shut up! Kill her quickly! We're killing her! Even though we've sewn her heart in several places, this person's heart won't stop! Are you immortal? Of course not. I've handed the endless over to you. My heart will not beat many more times. However, if by making it beat just once more, I can give the two in this room a bit more time, I'll continue that resistance for all eternity. So, keep stops. Why doesn't she die? That's an unusual look for that one. It's impossible. Why isn't her heart stopping? Even though it's been sewn in place. Who cares? We'll make the heart explode from the inside. How pitiful. You could have died cleanly if you hadn't resisted us. He said that even though the gold needle and thread made round trips over and over again, Bieto still didn't die. The cruel witch eventually grew pale at how bizarre that was. What in the world are you? You probably cannot understand. Even I didn't understand, and yet, somehow or another, it seems that this is true magic. In other words, I have now become it. I have become a true witch. Fixing explosion center and heart interior. Fuse preparations ready. Explode. There was a terrible sound, and gold leaf was scattered around the area, along with a cloud of gold butterflies. Ugh! Beto's chest had opened wide from the inside, and from that, gold butterflies and gold leaf poured out, staining the surrounding area gold. Then, Beto's flesh crumpled. Like a puppet whose strings had been cut, she crouched down and crumpled. However, a gold heart tied by gold threads floated in the air and continued to beat. What the? When the Chester sisters saw that, they fell on their butts in shock. Somehow, even though Bieto had become nothing more than a heart, it still kept beating, continuing to protect the barrier to the parlor. It was an immeasurably vast magical power, impossible to measure. In other words, endless. I'm the endless witch, right? Why is that old hag still alive after all this? Tracer sisters! Smash the heart, quickly! It's impossible, my apologies. We can't do it. Indeed, it probably will be impossible. No number of people could crush that heart. And certainly not the soldiers who serve under His Highness the Dragon King. Who is Dragon King? In that case, an endless witch like me should be able to crush it, right? My power is that of a god. I am afraid to say that your power cannot leave a single wound on the endless of Beatrice-sama. Just what do you mean by that? Just as there can be no light without knowledge of shadows, there can be no infinite without knowledge of the finite. Before Milady Beatrice's true endless power, your frail magic is quite lacking. What is that? Huh? The cruel witch was surprised and stepped back. It was thinner than a lace curtain. But Beatrice's form was still standing there. Even after being laid bare so tragically like this, she refused to let evil through that door. At that time, a shadow just as thin as Beatrice stood behind her. It was Kanon. Beatrice-sama? Thank you very much. I won't forget what you've done for us. I'll hear those words of yours once the number of my blessings has surpassed the number of grievances I have caused. Was that loud enough? Yes, truly. Thank you very much. And Beatrice-sama, you have also done enough. Please, be at peace. Is that so? Is this enough? What's going on? Why are you guys calling that old hag Beatrice? Beatrice is my name, right? It's got to be since I'm the new endless witch and golden witch, right? How rude. How dare you claim Beatrice-sama's name? I am afraid to say that the name of Beatrice-sama belongs to the one crowned as the endless witch. Right now, you are the predecessor. What did you say? Farewell, Kanon. I'm sure I'll see you soon enough in a new nightmare. In the nightmare of a new night, I will once again be your companion, Beatrice-sama. With that, if you would excuse me. Kanon's form grew faint, and he disappeared into thin air. After watching him go, Beatrice's form also grew faint, and before disappearing, it slumped over onto the floor. Then, there was a splat. The golden heart that had been floating in midair lost its sparkle, became blood-stained flesh, and fell to the ground. How frail it was. It was ragged and full of holes. But until a moment ago, it had sparkled so much that it continued to beat so forcefully. That heart still just barely managed to beat. However, it was only a matter of time before it stopped. Beatrice, whose form had become frail and faint like incense smoke, lay on the floor, steadily watching her own heart. There, the cruel witch could be seen. What do you mean, endless? Aren't you already collapsed in a heap right there? How can there be a finite infinity? That's a contradiction. It couldn't exist. This is the limit of your magic. The endless is better than the finite. Beatrice no longer even had the will to respond. No, on the contrary. It was doubtful that the words of the cruel witch even reached her ears. If you're a real endless witch, try standing up. How's it going? You can't stand, can you? Who do you think? Why do you think you can't stand? It's because you aren't the endless witch. The cruel witch poked Beatrice's heart with her fingernail. Beatrice had no words with which to respond to that provocation. However, instead of words, she returned a single expression. It felt humiliating only to the cruel witch, because she had gently curved her mouth and smiled. Footsteps were approaching that place. There was no way she had misheard it. That rough squeaking of heels was the sound of Battler's footsteps. Battler, is it? After talking so tough, I ended up like this. I've been trying to become The true witch you talked about. In my own way. Yeah. I was watching. Hey, have I been able to become a witch? Have I earned the right to become your opponent? It's useless. Adler said it unbelievably bluntly. As Beatrice breathed painfully, she saw this and sneered at herself, as though she should have expected it. I see. Yes, the road to becoming a true witch will be much, much longer than this. However, I will not surrender. Just like you never surrendered to my torture, I will definitely become a true witch and be accepted as your opponent. Yeah, it's useless. It's all useless. You aren't my opponent. The cruel witch raised her foot high. Below it was Beatrice's frail heart. Die, you old hag! Let's see how endless you are when you've been crushed to a pulp! I'm the witch! I am the golden witch! And? What's Butler gonna do? Oh, it's useless! It's all useless! What is this? Oh, where is this? Dun dun dun! Get in your seat. Beato isn't my opponent. You are. Butler? What kind of magic is this? Who cares? It doesn't matter. Choose sisters. 45, understood. Attacking everywhere. The Chaser sisters each readied their own golden bows and fired golden arrows. The two only pulled the bowstring together when using precision guidance. As they were fired against an enemy before their eyes, they fired their bows at the same time. Their might did not suffer in the slightest. And he's perfectly fine! There's no barrier! It was deflected by resistance alone! Damn! The strongest anti-magic. 45 target analysis? 45 understood? Huh? What? Did I break down? Am I insane? Anti-magic resistance, power, endless, no! Even mythical quest magic attacks won't be effective! Golden bow warheads could penetrate any magical armor through reciprocal corrosion. When one tried to block them with anti-magic resistance power, even 8 digits were not sufficient to prevent their penetration. By the way, even famous gods that appear on myths rarely reach as high as 9 digits. For that reason, 9 digits was enough to measure pretty much all sensible values. Butler had buried all 9 of those digits with 9s. Yeah! Dun 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 dun. How foolish when Battler Sama gets serious. Magical arrows and the like aren't even enough to make his hair tremble. The Chaser sisters dropped their golden bows in shock. Battler himself, it was as though a pair of dragonflies had flown past his shoulder. What are you doing? Is this some kind of game? Stay back, small fries! Get in your seat, fake witch! I'll tear off that mask of yours! And there they go! The Chaser sisters couldn't hide their fear at Battler's ferocity, and they backed up, as though they'd been struck. Beatrice watched the scene in shock. Oh! Dun dun dun! Battler, what is this supposed to be? Just like you see, you aren't my opponent. She is. That imposter over there who's using your name. I'm fighting against a witch. I face off against an opponent who claims to be a witch, and I deny witches by defeating them. I've seen more than enough of your arrogance. And Battler's eyes grew as sharp as blades as he stared down the cruel witch. What are you calling magic? What are you calling witches? You're no witch. I'll rip that mask off and tear it to shreds. For Gilead, get ready. Understood. Preparations are complete, so go whenever you're ready. Beatrice, stay back and rest. Indeed. Beata looked at Battler timidly. She still hadn't been acknowledged as his opponent. Was she qualified to watch the game board from the sidelines? Beato, stay back and watch. I'll tear it off. I'll thoroughly dismantle this fake witch. I won't let someone like this call themselves a witch. He protected the honor of true witches. You don't need to say anything. On your behalf, I'll teach her that the name of the Golden Witch definitely isn't that cheap. Battler. Dun dun dun. Okay, I think that's probably the best place we're gonna get to stop for today. Oh my god, look at them. Adorable. There we go. Hold on. And we're gonna hop back to chatting. Ta-da! There we go. Alright, next time we play this, I'd say Chapter 4 is gonna be done. Yay! Oh, hang on. We're getting echo from my headphones. Gonna close the game. There we go. Alrighty, tomorrow we are gonna be playing Detective Instinct. Yippee! And yeah, so tomorrow's gonna be Detective Instinct. I said we had until... Oh my god, I just checked the Discord. Path of Radiance is on the Switch too. Rest in peace. That is Iduna's fire. That is Iduna's favorite fire emblem. I'm gonna have to tell her. She does not have a Switch 2. But I'm pretty sure her husband still has the GameCube copy anyway. But yes, next time we should finish this chapter. Since I am going on vacation next week, like, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I won't have a stream. Not this weekend, next weekend. So I'll try and figure out my schedule in advance. That way, people can make sure to show up if there's, like, anything in particular they want to see from me or get their fill of Dee Dee. We shall see. We'll see what I manage to cook up. I don't want to make promises I can't keep, but fingers crossed. Maybe if it works out on Sunday during the working stream, I'll be able to make some content for you guys to keep you guys entertained and fill the void while I'm gone. But alright, let's see who we can raid. As my cats stare me down. They're like, hello. Food? Food? Lulu is playing... It looks like Pokemon? Yeah, she's playing ZA. Very nice. Oh, her kimono is so cute. Adorable. Alrighty. So, here is a raid. Here's Discord. Oh, here's some merch if you're feeling fanciful. For now, that's gonna be it for me. I will see you guys tomorrow for some Detective Instinct. For now, that's gonna be it for me. So, if it's daytime where you are, have a wonderful rest of your day. And if it's nighttime, have a great rest when you head on off to bed. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Wash your face, brush your teeth, eat a good food. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.